Gen 4 is notorious for having a lack of fire types, so in today's video we're going to be doing a hardcore Nuzlocke in Platinum using only fire types. But there's going to be some huge challenges in this run, with trainers like Wake and Bertha. And in the hardest fight of the game, we go against Cynthia and her Garchomp. This ends up being one of my craziest runs ever, so let's get into it. We obviously start off choosing Chimchar, and then Barry, thinking he's slick, picks Piplup. And we end up losing the first battle of the run to Piplup? Good for you, Barry, I didn't even want to win anyways. Lucky for us, we didn't have balls, so the run still continues. To my surprise, I'm getting 2 encounters before the first gym. And Growlithe ends up getting Intimidate, which is going to be so huge in so many fights. But now it's time for Rourke, which to no one's surprise, Monferno solos the gym. We get some Oranberries, and now it's time for Gardenia. And this fight starts pretty funny, with Turtwig ending up setting up Sunny Day. But even with the help of Turtwig, it becomes pretty close in the end. However, we still beat Gardenia and get our second gym badge. We head to Hearthome City where Fantina is, and I thought she was going to be a breeze, but boy was I wrong. So the fight starts and Duskull ends up going for Future Sight, and it ends up never hitting. Which at first I had no clue why, but then I looked it up, and in Gen 4, Future Sight has a 90% accuracy. The reason I bring this up is because if that Future Sight would have landed, we more than likely would have wiped. Because Monferno lives on 7 HP, and Miss Magius at this point in the game with Shadow Ball hits like a truck. But we get lucky again as Miss Magius goes for Magical Leap. So we're now put in a spot, if Ponyta can't live 2 Shadow Balls, the run is over. But somehow Ponyta lives, and after a series of fortunate events, we get the win. After being bailed out at Fantina, we end up getting Vulpix. Shortly after, we end up getting 1 of 2 Firestones available. With Maylene and Wake coming up, I decide to use the Firestone to get Arcanine. And before the gym, I get a Berry upgrade. The fight starts amazing with me getting a burn turn 1. But then Machoke comes out who has Guts, and we really do not want to burn him. And we get another burn, but this time it could be terrible. And it almost is, as Monferno lives on 1 HP. So I switch into Vulpix, and it misses Rock Tomb and dies of the burn. And now it's just down to Lucario, and with Arcanine having Intimidate, this was light work. We get another burn at the end, and end up defeating Maylene. After beating Maylene, we go and we get the coin case, and we buy like every TM in Veilstone. We then end up getting Houndour, which evolves at level 25, which is pretty early. Don't worry about that nickname. He ends up having the Brave Nature, which is genuinely worse than Slot. The run's been going pretty smooth so far, but next up is Crasher Wake, who might just crash the run.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Moving on, we end up getting Infernape, and then we teach him Thunder Punch. And shortly after that, we teach Thunderfang to Arcanine, giving us a shot against Wake. But I'm still not feeling very confident. I lead Arcanine, assuming a Thunderfang will take out Gyarados in 1 hit. I ended up being wrong, but we take it out anyways. Quagsire comes in, and it's time for the Solar Beam TMs to put in work. Solar Beam then obliterates Quagsire. But the real problem is this Floatzel, who outspeeds my entire team and has Aqua Jet. So I decide to intimidate it. But it has Brine, so that was useless. I now have to let Scarlet go down or potentially get swept. So Scarlet sadly goes down, but Infernape comes in and gets the revenge kill. With the death of Ponyta, from here on out, we will never have a full team of 6. And if you made it this far, I would really appreciate it if you would like, and if you want to, maybe subscribe. After beating Wake, we can now Surf, which means we can get the final encounter for the team, Magmortar, as well as picking up the second and final Firestone, which means we can get Ninetales. And just like that, the final team has been made, but will they survive? Next up is Byron, and our new addition to the team sweeps the fight. They really could have gave him more than 3 Mons. After Byron, we head to Snow Point to face Candace. Once again, Magmortar solos the fight with ease. It's really the 7th gym, and she's using a Sneasel. It's now time for the Evil Team arc, and this cutscene literally crashed my game. I was then stuck in the Distortion world for a good 15 minutes. I couldn't imagine 10-year-old me trying to get through that. After the torturous maze, it's time for Cyrus. And this fight gets a bit dicey. Crobat comes in and all this thing wants to do is click Confuse Ray. And of course Magmortar hits itself 2 times in a row. But I decided to riskily stay in to get some damage. And end up finishing off the menace with Houndoom. Gyarados comes in, but Arcanine should be able to take care of this easily. But somehow Gyarados lives a Thunderfang. And Arcanine almost goes down. My team is looking really weak, so I had to make a risky play, which ends up paying off as CC takes it out. And 2 Mach Punches end the fight, and we beat Cyrus. After Cyrus, it's straight to Volkner. The fight starts with Jolteon, and this thing's not really a threat. But then Electivire comes in, and this thing's a real issue for my team. So my plan is to intimidate this thing 2 times. And on the second switch in, Arcanine gets crit and almost dies. So our only hope is for Infernape to take it down. If you've seen the Pokemon anime, you know this is fitting. And Flame Wheel plus CC takes it out. But the team is already looking really weak. And I switch in Magmortar and we get a Flame Body proc, which is insane. If we don't get that proc, I'm not sure we win this fight. The last Mon is Raichu, and it misses back-to-back Focus Blast, and we defeat Volkner. It's now time for the hardest part of the game, will my team of 5 be able to do it? But before the league, we gotta take care of some unfinished business. I'm talking about you, Barry. The fight starts, and thanks to him going for CC, flamethrower one-shots. Next up is Empoleon, but this time Infernape's not gonna lose. And close combat takes it out. Snorlax comes in and has the same fate. Arcanine can then just come in and sweep the rest of the fight. And with that, we get our sweet, sweet revenge on Barry. Here's a little team recap before the league. But moves and items change per fight. The biggest highlight here is Ninetales having Sunny Day. With that, it's time for the first member. And with them only using bug types, this fight goes how you would expect. The only slight problem in this fight is Drapion, but we ended up burning it. That fight was a cakewalk, but Bertha won't be. A notable change before this fight is I gave Magmortar the Miracle Seed. The fight starts and the goal is Houndoom can live one shot, which he does, and then he takes out Whiscash with Solar Beam. But then a big nuisance to the fight comes in, Hippowdon, who sits up the sand and is really bulky. So I decided to intimidate it, and it misses Stone Edge. The whole plan here is to get up the sun, so I switch into Ninetales, while Hippowdon goes for Yawn. But sadly, Ninetales gets crit Stone Edged. But Ninetales did its job and got the sun up. So now it's time for Magmortar to do its part. And it gets the one shot on Hippowdon. Golem and Rhyperior come in, and of course they're gonna go down. But Bertha's last mon is Glasscore, which could sweep the team. Lucky for us, Magmortar lives the Earthquake, and a sun boosted flamethrower takes it out. However, for the rest of the Elite Four, we will only have 4 Pokemon. With Ninetales dead, our new Sunday user will be Magmortar. And before Flint, I decided to give Infernape Earthquake. Going into this, I expected Flint to be a decent challenge, but Infernape ends up sweeping this fight, barely taking any damage. Only getting hit once by a Thunderbolt that did less than half. I guess I'm just a better Fire-type trainer. With Flint defeated, it's time for Lucian. I started the fight setting up Sunny Day, but Mr. Mime sets up both screens. After taking out Mr. Mime, the Ace Gallade comes in, who goes down to a crit Flame Wheel. The Reflect wears off and Arcanine takes out Bronzong. Espeon ends up chunking Arcanine, so I'm forced to switch out. And Houndoom finishes the job. The last one is Alakazam, and an Infernape Flare Blitz OHKOs it. With only Cynthia left, I make some changes to the team. Let me know in the comments if you think this team's going to beat Cynthia. Going into this is a massive uphill battle. Not only is Cynthia known as one of the hardest vanilla champions, a fire-only team has a terrible matchup against her. And on top of that, we don't even have a full team of 6. Going into it, I don't really even have a plan for Garchomp besides Giga Impact. So without further ado, let's see how it goes. I lead with Magmortar with hopes of getting up the sun. We get it up with ease as Spiritomb is not much of a threat, but Flamethrower barely doesn't take it out. Then for some reason, after using a full restore, she switches to Garchomp, so we get some much needed chip damage. Then again, for whatever reason, she switches into Milotic, which is one of our biggest threats, and it's now in range for a Solar Beam to take it out. Garchomp comes back in, and this time it does the right thing and just outspeeds and kills. And now there were 3. So now I bring in my quote-unquote counter for Garchomp, Arcanine. And I don't think it's in range for Giga Impact, so I go for E-Speed. And thanks to the Intimidate, we survive Earthquake. I decided it's best to get some more chip with E-Speed and let Arcanine go down, meaning we have 2 mons remaining while she has 5. It's not looking so great, but CC takes out Garchomp. With the biggest threat down and my defense is lowered, I switch out. And with Houndoom, I'm going to go for Dark Pulse, hoping for some flinches. But in the end, we don't get any and Houndoom goes down, meaning the entire run is on Infernape's shoulders, who gets a clean revenge kill using Flare Blitz. And then should be able to take out Spiritomb easily, but she uses a full restore. But in the end, we knock out Spiritomb anyways. Next in is Roserade, and Flare Blitz kills, but we take a massive amount of recoil damage. It's looking like Infernape can pull off the reverse sweep, and close combat kills, and we somehow defeat Cynthia. Infernape after pulling off that crazy comeback. And with that, the craziest vanilla platinum run is over. What a poetic ending. The run started with Chimchar and ended with Infernape. This video somehow ran really short, so if you want me to be honest, I'm about to yap for 1 minute 20 seconds to get this to 10 minutes. But if you made it this far, thank you. If you want to like, sub, I would really appreciate it. It would really help me. You know, maybe share it with your friends, share it around. And now we're about to see the Hall of Fame with all these crazy Pokemon we used. In mono-type runs with a really small team, you get really attached to the Pokemon. Let me know who you think MVP of the run was. For me, it'd probably be Magmortar. Infernape obviously had a crazy last battle, but before that, he didn't do too crazy. Also shout out Ninetales for in the Bertha fight going down by setting up the Sunny Day to let us win. And we can't forget about Ponyta, who died all the way back at Crash Your Weight. I would say the worst one on the team was sadly Houndoom, who I nicknamed Charizard. He was kind of doomed from the start. And I would like to shout out my rivalry with Barry. I thought that was a pretty funny segment. I wish his fights were harder because I would have shown more, but it is what it is. The video is coming to an end. If somehow you're still watching this Yap session, let me know any video ideas you'd want, any games, any challenges. Share the video with your pet fish, your pet dog, your friends, your best friend, your mother's friend, everybody. And that's about it for the video. Thank you. This was a great one. Is this thing 10 minutes yet?